going to wind up having Parker, who we had on the stream before, playing Hollow Vine, going up against Alwyn, who's been on the stream multiple times at different events, but is on the first time on the stream today.
Yeah, and, you know, he's playing his tried and true Boros Energy. That's, you know, one of the most, again, major pillar of the format. This is kind of like the dominant deck, and it'll be really interesting to see how these two very powerful creature decks are able to interact with each other. In particular, just being able to have the life gain is probably going to help quite a bit, given that the FrogVine deck can just, you know, put much bigger threats into play.
Yeah, but the Boros Energy deck is going to be able to do things like turn 1 Ragavan, which, like, if you turn the clock back to Modern like a year ago, was the thing that people were saying was so powerful it should be banned. But nowadays, this is just your average Modern play.
Yeah, you know, good old Ragavan. You know, we have another one drop coming up. Good old Mako.
Oh. This one's a shark.
Yeah, this good old shark pirate here. Kind of, honestly, this card getting printed kind of became an absolute like staple and linchpin in these like Hollow One and like all these different decks that are trying to abuse discarding and self-discarding to be able to power out a lot of powerful plays. And probably does not want to attack in, but what's nice here is that we do have 2 energy being held up because of the Galvanic Discharge, getting only 1 damage, needing to hit the Mako and then save the other 2 for later.
Yep, so there we go. Galvanic Discharge comes in, gets rid of that. We're going to have Ragavan swinging on in, getting Parker down to 18, and top card of the library is...
I wish I could see.
I think it's a Street Wraith. We actually had Matt Zhu hardcast a Street Wraith from Sinway's Living End list off of a Ragavan the other game, so...
yeah, we were... I was definitely like, okay, we're there.
We're doing it, yeah. I mean, we're not going to commit our things into a Living End, but we can commit our opponent's things into a Living End.
Yeah, I was kind of intrigued by that play because if it does get dealt with, the next Living End will just bring it back anyway.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, it's just kind of like you're playing with fire. But Ocelot Pride comes down from Alwyn's side. That's going to be another key linchpin to this energy deck, creating as many cat tokens as possible once you get that City's Blessing online.
Yeah, this Cat Kindred deck is pretty powerful in that case. Oh, double Vengevine discard. That's pretty solid.
Yeah, the best kind of Faithless Looting is the one that bins both of the namesake cards from the deck, or at least part of the namesake card here. I mean, we have like 3 here. We have Hollow One, Psychic Frog, Vengevine, and the fact that the deck is playing Grixis colors.
Yep. Yeah, I'm very intrigued to see if we have the backup spell. Yeah, we are definitely pulling up the Oracle text. That way, Alwyn is understanding how Vengevine works, given that a very complicated card has no text on it.
Yeah, I mean, like, the fact is, this is the one that Parker has, so you can tell everything it does right here.
Yeah, exactly. It's a big tree.
Yeah, big tree. It's Omnath, right? Is that what it does? But,
well, I mean, there is also the textless Omnath, which is even worse in my opinion.
But Vengevine, as long as you cast a spell, if it's the second creature spell you cast this turn, you may return Vengevine from your graveyard to the battlefield as a 4/3 with haste. So Parker is going to be in the face of a bit of damage now, as the turn did get passed over to Alwyn. It's just a quick swing for 3, gaining of a life off of that Ocelot Pride. It's going to make a token at end of turn, but what else is going to happen? Seasoned Pyromancer.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yep, and we do also have 2 treasures banked. We discarded a couple of lands, so just making sure we're actually hitting spells here. And yeah, nothing too fancy here. We have, what is that? 3, 6, 8. So we are going to 9 permanents. We just missed City's Blessing.
Yeah.
If those 2 cards discarded were non-land cards, we would have City's Blessing, which would be insane. That's a lot of creatures on board.
This is what we were talking about last round, actually. Just these decks like Boros Energy can all of a sudden just start putting out basically lethal amounts of damage on the board as soon as possible. And all right, looks like the response here from Parker is going to be hurting himself, cycling a Street Wraith, drawing a card off of that. That's 1 discard for turn in case there's any hollow ones in the hand here.
And I think I see a Faithless Looting was also drawn, so we do have, you know, the way to fully discount a Hollow One or 2. If we're able to double Hollow One here, we get back we put 16 power in play for just casting a handful of spells.
All right, so Faithless Looting. What do we got? Ooh, we do have 2 hollow. Was that drawn off of the Faceless Looting?
That'd be impressive.
Okay, one was a
Monument to Endurance. Jinx.
Oh, I owe you a soda.
You got me coffee earlier. It's fine.
I knew this was going to happen. Monument to Endurance, though. This is kind of an all-star in standard decks, pioneer decks on stream here, and everything. So Monument to Endurance basically synergizing very well with all the discard matters things from Parker's deck.
Yeah, and it looks like, yeah, we do have a Psychic Frog hitting play. But, ooh, interesting. Thraben Charm.
Main deck.
Well, yeah, I think I think most folks have had at least one, maybe two Thraben Charms in their deck. But yeah, with the casting of the frog on the stack, we did decide to exile the graveyard with Thraben Charm.
So that means that no Vengevines are going to be coming back from the graveyard this time around. Instead, we did have a Psychic Frog and a Hollow One, which did cause Alwyn to use his 2 treasure tokens, so that City's Blessing is looking a little bit further away right now. So Parker did wind up buying a little bit of time with his play, although it was not the best play his deck could do with those Vengevines going away.
Yeah, and in particular, Alwyn does not have any creatures that can attack successfully into this board. So we're kind of at board stall state / I need to find my Guide of Souls, which is one way to do it.
Right, Guide of Souls is the other really heartbeat piece of this energy deck. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, not only going to get some life, but you're going to be gaining energy, and that energy will start putting 2 counters on things, making things fly, and just make it very difficult for your deck to ever have to, you know, be faced with blockers.
Yeah, and unfortunately here, we only have 2 energy right now. So we cannot start to fly any of our creatures. But, oh boy, we got a second frog, and we are doing the Burning Inquiry thing. Unfortunately, Alwyn just draws and discards cards, but throws a Flage in the bin, which is huge after the Arena of Glory that just got put into play. Oh no.
That's what you don't want to see when you're the Burning Inquiry deck. Sorry, Burning Inquiry comes in. Oh, hits a bunch of lands, it looks like, from Parker's side. So that's not the worst thing in the world.
But I think the Burning Inquiry did a lot more harm than good here because, yeah, we had the Street Wraith to cycle more and find more cards. But, yeah,
it's just
that Flage is coming back and dealing a lot of damage. And what's really unfortunate here is the frogs, with only 1 card in hand, the frogs are dead to a Flage.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you just shoot both of them down.
Discarding a card to the frog, exiling here to give it flying.
Yeah, it looks like we just want to fly a frog, which is fair.
Who doesn't want to fly a frog? But most importantly, it's going to wind up drawing Parker a card, which is something that he does not have a lot of in hand currently. And it looks like it was a white border Rootwalla.
Yep.
So just the potentially 1/1 in hand, and now Parker deciding, like, do I just discard this to play it? That would give an additional card in the graveyard, but might just need to save that in order to buff up the frog later. Give it some wings.
Yeah. Alright, Flage is coming out, doing exactly what we thought it would do. Nice and haste.
Yep. Alright, so Parker now facing down probably lethal from this attack. There's way too many things on all one side of the battlefield.
Yeah, and very smartly here, hitting the frog that currently is not a X3. And we did have the energy, which means we are going to be able to fly a creature when we attack.
Yeah, and Owen just points at the Flage and is like, Parker's like, yeah, I'm dead.
Yep. Technically, we could fly the frog to block, but I don't think we're winning that anyway.
We got rid of the blocker frog, most importantly. So blocker frog got put away, so there's nothing to block the flyer. So Flage is what? 8 plus 3 is 11, which is more than Parker's life total right there. That is.
Yeah, that's pretty powerful. And the Thraben Charm coming in absolutely clutch there in the main deck. I wonder, let's take a peek, because we got our deck list back. Let's see how many Thraben Charms. So we had 2 main deck Thraben Charms. That's actually more than I would have expected. I would have thought it was just 1.
Yeah, so you even heard Parker there saying, like, you just normally main deck graveyard, hate main deck, and Alwyn's like, yeah, it kind of works a lot around here.
Yeah, and looks like we have, ooh, that's spicy. We have I don't know if it's going to come out in this matchup, but there are Clarion Conquerors in the sideboard for Alwyn. I'm assuming, though, given that we do have a greedy 3-color mana base, I'm guessing Blood Moons are going to come in. given that we are also playing black creatures, probably Celestial Purge, and yeah, we got a handful of other things. There's a Ghost Vacuum, Soul Guide Lantern. Those feel pretty solid into a graveyard deck. Yeah. Yeah, the sideboard plan looks pretty solid for energy. I can see a lot of powerful like silver bullets coming in, taking the place of some of the less impactful cards that we have in the main deck.
Yeah, and coming in from the side of Parker, it looks like we have main deck has 4 copies of Hollow One, the Marauding Makas, the Flameblade Adepts, all these kinds of things you're normal seeing. Vengevine and Psychic Frog round out the creature package. However, we are going to wind up having those 2 Monument to Endurance, one of which we saw in the first game, and then all of these discardable, all these discard cards to set up your combo. Also, we had the 4 Blazing Rootwalla. Sideboard plan looking a little bit more slim against the Boros Energy deck, unfortunately. I mean, Alpine Moon, not really going to do a ton here. Consigned to Memory doesn't really work against the deck. Magebane Lizard is not really going to happen here because there's no non-creatures being cast. Surgical Extraction, maybe, if you're able
I'm assuming surgical, because getting rid of Flage is going to be your win condition.
Yeah.
Flage was the reason why Alwyn could close that game. Had it not been Flage, we had enough stuff on board to kind of stall out the energy deck. It never got wide enough to go around. But yeah, I believe there's also a couple of rough and tumbles here.
Yeah,
which,
let's pull this card up because I had to read this one because I am unfamiliar with the fact that this is just basically a pyroclasm for non-flying creatures.
Yep, and you know, sometimes you pay 6 mana to deal a bunch of damage to flyers, but the more important part, definitely the first side that can basically get rid of an entire Boros Energy board outside of the actually Seasoned Pyro Mansion. Those are 3/3s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are the only things that will live through that, and Flage, everything else just bye-bye.
Yeah, everything else from all one side of the board is going to wind up getting roughed up there. And the interesting thing here is, like, as opposed to playing this instead of Pyroclasm, now, if you have cards in hand, you're probably not going to. I mean, Parker's deck is going to want to be discarding things as soon as possible. I'm assuming this meets it over Whip Flare or Pyroclasm because you can exile cards from your graveyard to make your froggies fly. And now you're not facing down the rough. And everything else is an X3, X4.
Yeah, or you can just discard a card to grow out of it.
Yeah. So yeah, rough and tumble. Interesting little addition here from Parker's side. A little bit of spice in the 75, but yeah, besides those, the surgical extractions, there's not a ton that Parker's deck is really doing that can stop the energy deck. So I guess at some point Parker's basically saying, I hope Psychic Frog and Hollow One are good enough.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I think the creatures outscale Boros Energy very effectively, so you just gotta kind of make sure that, you know, you don't get a Burning Inquiry that helps your opponent more than it helps you.
Yeah, or that, or the fact that you can put these things onto the battlefield on like turn 1, as opposed to waiting a couple of turns to just naturally cast a Psychic Frog. Getting a Hollow One down as soon as possible against the Boros Energy deck can be pretty problematic, because even though Boros puts down a lot of creatures, you basically have the Abyss on the other side if they want to preserve their life total.
Yeah, basically what you have to do is just, you have to make sure you get a Guide of Souls into play to start flying your creatures, otherwise they're just going to hit a stone wall every time.
Yeah, quite literally. I think it's limestone.
Yeah.
I'm playing Hollow One.
Yeah, limestone. Not sandstone, you're sure?
I think, I'm just trying to remember what the pyramids are made out of. Pretty sure that's limestone.
Yeah.
Either way, it could be sandstone though, because this is Amonkhet. It's not it's not actual ancient Egypt. Now, I'm interested in this Monument to Endurance. Do you think this actually stays in, or is it just too slow for this matchup?
Oh, it is absolutely too slow. I'm assuming you're probably bringing that in for decks that are gonna try and bring in a lot of creature hate. But if you're just a gum up the board kind of deck like Alwyn is on Energy, I feel like it's a little too expensive, a little too do nothing, a little too cute. Then being able to refund your discards with some additional draws, like not awful. Getting some mana. The drain is a quick clock, but I don't know how much just paying 3 mana to do nothing against Boros Energy. I don't know how much that's gonna actually get you.
Probably not. I mean, the biggest thing about this is, like, you could play it on a turn 4 and then trigger absolutely everything off of a Burning Inquiry. But the biggest thing about this is how often are you going to be living to turn 4 as the Hollow One deck, where you're not better off just winning the game? And unfortunately for Parker, he's going to start one less card in order to do that, as he just immediately mulligans the 6. Probably 0 lands in hand with that one.
Yeah, and I mean, as we were alluding to before, this is the winning in. So All-Win is 1 game win away from securing a top 8 spot, because the size of our event, all of our X1s next round can intentionally draw to make it into the top 8, which is pretty solid. And then we'll have a couple of spots open for X2s, I believe, just given the current math.
Yep, I'm going to say we did wind up having all of the 0-3s. Unfortunately, since they are completely out of contention, they wound up dropping. So now we've cut clean down to 18 players. We do know that there were an odd number of X and O's, so there did wind up having to be a match where a 3-0 player, this round it was Ori, wound up playing against the 2-1 player in order to battle that one out, which means that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, potentially 5 slots. Oh, well, one of them just ended.
Yeah, it looks like
4 slots that are up for grabs.
Yeah, it looks like live, and you heard it here first, folks. Sunway, who we did see on stream earlier in the day on Living End, has secured a top 8 slot by getting that win over Jack Yuan, who we also saw on stream playing that Is It Cutter deck.
Yeah, so okay, so there's still at least 4 slots up for grabs. So that means we are going to have plenty of action going into round number 5 for some win-ins. And it looks like we do just wind up having turn 1 Blazing Rootwalla the hard way.
The hard way? That's unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, you think the hard way is normally like having a way to discard it, but with this deck from Parker, nah, you want to cast it for 0 way more than you cast it for 1, but this is not the one drop that Parker's deck wants to see. You normally want to have Flameblade Adept or something along the lines of that Marauding Mako. Yeah,
and it looks like we do have a Fetch Shock coming out from All-Win, and let's see, is it Guide of Souls? Is it yeah, Guide of Souls, or why am I blanking on the dang cat?
Oh,
Ocelot Pride. There we go.
Could be a Ragavan, but Ragavan's probably the worst of those right here.
Oh yeah, for sure. I particularly like the Ocelot Pride here because the first strike can probably get through the Blazing, or it always gets through Blazing Rootwalla really easily. You know, it will always be an X1. It can grow its power, but not its toughness.
All right, Ocelot a lot hits the battlefield here for All-Win. Parker, in the meantime, going to be shocking in Psychic Frog. All right, so we just kind of have Grixis mid-range hand coming out from Parker here.
Which, granted, when an Ocelot Pride is staring it down, I feel like you're pretty fine with that. Wonder what All-Win does have coming up. Is it going to be a Guide of Souls? Do we have a Ragavan? Tapping a red, I'm assuming it's the Ragavan.
There it is. Ragavan, not the best here, but ooh, Soul Guide Lantern in addition to Ragavan. Now that's a pretty decent turn 2 play here.
Yeah, just being able to have the on-demand graveyard hate for Parker is pretty solid. Yeah, and I think we're figuring out, do we have to target the Arid Mesa, which it does have to have a legal target if there is one, so Arid Mesa has been exiled. That is... I mean, I don't think it's going to come up that much, but, like, that is one less card for a Flage to escape.
Right, and if you're thinking Parker's bringing in Surgical Extractions, that's probably pretty good for him because it's realizing, like, hey, I don't need to pull the trigger on this one almost immediately. Instead, I can develop my board with things like this Faithless Looting that hits the battlefield.
Yeah, and Faithless Looting does let you be able to fly your frog as well. Something really important here to start having cards flow and get additional damage. We do have a Blazing Rootwalla being discarded and being cast right away, so we got we got a couple of lizards and a frog just staring down a cat and a monkey.
Ooh, and we had a Marauding Mako that was drawn off of this, so that's going to be a little unfortunate, but we also have a cycled Street Raid, so we are still going to have the ability to fly the frog if we want to.
I didn't know we were playing in a zoo.
It kind of looks like it, right? Although, if this is a modern zoo, so I need like a ley line of the Guild Pact and like a dragon made out of metal.
Yeah.
Then that would be the true zoo. But here, yeah, this is the truest zoo that we've really seen for a long time.
Yeah, we got a shark, a monkey, a cat, and 2 lizards.
And a frog. Yeah. So, all right. And we get a Hollow One as well. We drew the Hollow One off of the swing in on the Psychic Frog, and Parker's the one that has a Boros Energy-sized board here at the end of his turn 3.
Yeah, this is definitely what Hollow One is able to do in this matchup. It's one of the reasons why I think outside of the rough and tumbles, you don't really need much for this matchup because you can explode out and have a bigger board than energy very quickly. And the only way they can really get around it is with flying creatures off of Guide of Souls. So if they don't have that one very impactful spell, you just kind of get to hang out, you know? No big deal, just vibing. Bunch of big creatures in play, bunch of good blockers. You can continue to hit in with the frog to get card advantage and discard random stuff. And yeah, that Mako is probably going to get big very quick because every discard with the frog is also growing your Mako.
Oh, yeah. And we'll have to see if Parker follows us up with some sort of discard spells, or if we just do it through the Psychic Frog the normal way. But Alwyn just fetches for a basic, and Flage from hand is going to target the Mako.
Oh, this is pretty solid. We are going to be discarding 2 cards to frogs. That way we can make it big enough. And we see...
Whoa,
yeah,
gonna put
yeah. We just missed Alwyn's face. He was like,
face.
shoot.
No, there he goes again. He did it again for us. All right, thanks, Alwyn.
man.
Flage face, no space. So discards the 2 cards left in hand in order to save the Mako.
Yeah.
It also grows the frog, but we are missing 1 more card in order to fly the frog, and Alwyn does have an opportunity to crack that Soul Guide Lantern before we just discard the hand we draw.
I will say, what this did do is it made Parker hellbent. So we are not in a great spot here, and it looks like I think that's a Burning Inquiry, so I don't think we want to just discard 3 cards.
Nope, so we're just discarding 1, and then are we going to get a Soul Guide Lantern? No.
No, we're gonna fly the frog here. We're okay taking a bit more damage, and that's
everything.
Oh boy, that's a lot of damage coming in. At least we do have a chump blocker.
All right, so we are going to be taking, what is this, 8 altogether? So I went down to 10. Parker's going to get to draw a card. Ooh, it's another Hollow One. We only discarded 1 card so far, so that's not going to wind up cutting it here.
No. Unfortunately not. We do not have the 3rd land. But, you know, pretty solid position anyway. We have just bigger creatures. Alwyn's going to be able to, you know, we'll be able to block a little bit.
Alwyn is thinking, he was like, I'm just going to immediately crack this fast, and he's like, I don't have enough cards to escape this Flage with that Arena of Glory.
No, we definitely don't.
So we are thinking about what he wants to fetch for here.
I mean, what are we just fetching a surveillance to just throw whatever's in top in the graveyard unless it's a very powerful spell?
I mean, at this point too. So correct me if I'm wrong, because these face lands that Alwyn has, very difficult to tell if that's a mountain or a plains. It looks like it's a plains to me.
So I believe that is the plains from the what's that? The one of the weird secret layers.
Right, but he also wound up having a wooded foothill. Sorry, not a wooded foothills, a windswept teeth, which means he can't fetch basic mountain. So he winds up fetching basic plains instead, which does mean that the only way to cast a double red spell now would be to exert the Arena of Glory.
We have the Sacred Foundry.
Well, I was saying double red spell, like if you were to like try to exert a Flage, or if you wanted to cast Seasoned Pyromancer off of this mana base.
No, I mean, it still taps for red on its own, right?
And then we wind up having just basic planes left available, so we can't represent like a Galvanic Discharge or something like that, which is maybe a little bit awkward. And Alwyn was weighing, do I really want to shock in or not? And it looks like this is going to be Seasoned Pyromancer, pitch a couple of cards in order to get Flage fuel. But are we? Okay, so we have enough. We have 4 cards besides that. We had to pitch Voice of Victory as well.
Yeah, which, granted, with Flage is your primary win condition in this matchup, the board's too gummed up. You're not going to be able to do anything else besides it, and you kind of need the life gain that Flage offers. Not to mention, at least the Elemental token is also going to offer a pretty solid like chump blocker, along with probably Ragavan at this point. Unfortunately, we don't have any ways to gain life, so
we're at 9 permanents right now for City's Blessing.
Yeah, exactly. If we had one way to gain a little more life, we could be able to do it.
A second Ocelot Pride or a Guide of Souls would probably be slammed down at this point, right? So yeah, it looks like just passing the turn here from Alwyn, so that's... All right, Alwyn has to be on blocking duty now, but is there a point where, okay, we drew a... All right, so we know there's a Hollow One in hand for Parker, so we drew that Street Wraith for turn. We have a land. I don't think there's a way we can get this frog to be lethal.
No, because we are at 9, and even with the 2 cards in hand, it's not going to do enough.
We have 4 blockers for the 4 ground attackers as well.
Yeah, and it looks like we did draw another land, so I'm assuming that's just going to be free fuel for the frog to be able to just discard, and then it makes the Hollow One in hand cost 1. And I think at this point we just kind of have to go wide. There's not really anything else we can do.
Yeah, so if we discard the land to the frog, that's a 5 damage creature, but it doesn't even fly at this point. We are going to hard cast the cycle. Oh yeah! Hollow One has cycling!
Monument to Endurance, spotted.
All right, so we kept that one in. So maybe don't have the surgical extractions in here after all. But Hollow One with cycling. All right, so we cycle the Hollow One. That puts the Mako up. We can now discard our other land, but then we can't cast our monument next turn, assuming we get a next turn. But if we discard our land, we can then make our frog fly and bash in for what is going to wind up being 5 damage altogether, because the rest of these things will wind up getting chump blocked.
Yeah, because we have 4 for everything. Okay, and Parker is playing it pretty safe, keeping the root walls back. Don't want to give the Ocelot Pride a free trade.
Why do you think Alwyn has kept the Soul Guide Lantern around for so long instead of preventing the frog from connecting?
I think right now he's a little more worried about just if a Vengevine hits the graveyard, he wants to be able to get that, because any additional creatures are going to make it even harder for him to win. Yeah. Oh, wow. We are actually going to put 2 creatures in front of the Hollow One and just chump the Marauding Mako here.
All right, so that's going to wind up being 5 damage coming across the Alwyn. We're trading out the Hollow One. Most importantly, puts us at enough cards in our graveyard to get Flage escaped.
Oh, and we are tumbling. We have Rough and Tumble in hand as well. Very, very interesting set of cards for Parker with only the 2 mana.
Yeah, so Rough and Tumble here, not going to be what the doctor ordered because, well, A, Owen's board is gone, and B, it won't kill this Flage.
Yeah, but, yeah, we are definitely flaging here.
I think we have to, but are we going to be exerting or not?
I mean, I think you have to at this point. You need to be able to gain the 6 life that it's offering. And with the 2 cards in hand... Yeah, with the 2 cards in hand, yeah, you're still gonna be able to save the frog, but you do have to discard everything. So we might just end up going for the Root Wallas.
All right, so we have Escape. We have, yeah, we're going for the Root Wallas. This is going to at least gain Alwyn some life, hitting the other Root Walla, and that's going to get Parker down to 8.
Mm-hmm.
So now Alwyn is going to wind up getting a token. So you have 2 blockers. One of them can go in front of the Mako. And that Rough and Tumble, though, will that be game-winning here?
Probably, honestly. Yeah, because if we don't have enough blockers, but I think we did discard the land, so we're praying for a land off the top.
All right. Well, no, Rough is only 2 mana.
Ooh, yeah, Rough's only 2.
Play it, Parker, play it.
Do it.
Get rough with them. Rough!
Yeah, so I guess Alwyn got roughed up, and we are going to be going to game number 3.
Right. We are winning off of our sideboard card there. Awesome thing to see from Parker's side of the board. And most impressively, doing it with only 2 mana.
Yeah. The fact that you survived and you actually got an entire game, that was grinding as heck for what it's worth. With with just 2 mana, that's pretty solid, and it shows you the kind of the kind of power that you can get off of these very cheap and efficient threats, as well as just the synergies from the self discard. And yeah, it looks like we've got 20 more minutes left for this last game between these 2, and again, they are playing for that win and in.
Yeah, I mean, so that game did not go quite how I expected it to go. I don't know if I'm just not putting enough respect on Psychic Frog's name, or if I'm undervaluing the threat that the Marauding Mako presented from Parker's side of the battlefield. But having 2 mana and having the board that it was, it looked like that as long as Alwyn just played creatures, he was going to be able to win. So do you think that one was just Parker's deck doing its thing better than Alwyn's deck, or was it Alwyn's deck maybe having a little too much interaction and not enough pressure?
I mean, realistically, the deck the All-In's deck kind of needed the Guided Souls early. Guided Souls is what gives you the evasion that you need to be able to actually close a game. If you don't have it, then you're just kind of sitting back, not really doing much. On the flip side, on Parker's side, yeah, game 1, you kind of didn't have much going on. Game 2 was definitely pretty spiky. But, I mean, we didn't even really need any Vengevines or anything like that. We just were able to spew out powerful creatures with our discard synergies. The couple of Root Wallahs were actually playing a really good wall at the back, just kind of keeping Alwyn at bay, preventing from attacking, because the two of them basically, like, yeah, you're losing 2 pieces of cardboard for 1, but when you paid 0 mana for your 2 pieces of cardboard and your opponent paid 1 mana and kind of the deck revolves around it being able to make a bunch of creatures, you kind of like that trade.
I guess I did almost completely forget about Alwyn's Pug Face there, where casting the Flage onto the Mako and then having the Mako survive because of the discard from the Psychic Frog was probably the most undoing thing for Alwyn's deck. Because at that point, you think, oh, I can clear away. Like you said, I can start attacking with this Ocelot Pride or this Ragavan and start getting some clock going on Parker's side against Parker's deck. But because of that little misstep and having the Flage not be enough to kill the Mako, it put the Flage in the graveyard, which, you know, normally doing the thing he wanted to do was going to do that anyway, but it really slowed down the energy deck. And I guess one of these things the energy deck needs to do is kind of keep going, even if by keeping going it's just putting things on the battlefield.
Yeah, and realistically, though, you were getting rid of one of the Root Wallahs earlier. I mean, that does unlock the Ocelot Pride to start attacking, because it's just gonna, the other one's just gonna chomp it.
Yeah, or it means that the Mako can't attack anymore.
Yeah, which, yeah, either way, it gives Alwyn more time to kind of just hang tight and get there. So I don't think he's going to be making that mistake again. He's going to definitely be counting cards in Parker's hand.
That one even has all the text on the card, unlike the Vengevine. That one is textless. And let's not forget, that was a mulligan down to 6 from Parker's side as well. So Parker's deck definitely has a little bit of a fight to it, but Alwyn being on the play, both players keeping 7, this is probably going to be a little bit rougher as Ocelot Pride hits the battlefield on turn 1 this game.
Yep, and given that Alwyn is, given that Alwyn's on the play, this is definitely going to start making some creatures, which, especially if we have a Guided Souls to follow it up, or even a Johnny, we're going to be in great shape.
Oh, yeah. Basically, if Energy has the cards that Energy needs to win the game, it's going to start winning the game. Exactly. But it looks like Parker just played a land and passed the turn here, so no big early plays from the Hollow One deck, unfortunately.
Yeah.
We do have a Rough and Tumble in hand, though.
Yes, that is pretty strong. It's especially if we do end up having the having any of our powerful 2-mana plays that have only 2 toughness. We're going to be able to quickly clear the board in 2-for-1 Alwyn. I wouldn't be surprised if that's just what Parker's looking for, is to just early 2-for-1, have your opponent use a bunch of resources, and then just be able to start doing your thing from there.
Dash Ragavan is probably the worst thing that Parker wants to see right now, because that can't get rough and tumbled, and it gets Alwyn a treasure. Oh, Voice of Victory!
Another thing that does get around the rough and tumble with that 3 toughness. Mobilize 2 is also a very impactful ability, especially when you have Goblin Bombardment to just shoot your opponent with them.
Yeah, most importantly, too, Kyle informed me of this one. Goblin Bombardment with Voice of Victory. Very powerful thing, because you can sacrifice those warriors, but also the fact that the warriors are red, so with an Ajani out, they will flip your Ajani.
Yeah, that is pretty good.
All right, well, Parker is going to, end of turn, looks like fetches up a Steam Vents, and we're going to have to see what Parker's response is going to be here, because that Rough and Tumble is not looking as rough as it did in game number 2 that wound up winning in the game. So it's harder to look better than game-winning card, but...
Yeah. But, yeah, looks like we are... Oh, interesting. It was just a tap Steam Vents. I guess we don't have any Surveillance coming from what is it? Parker's side.
Yeah, Parker looks like just playset of Blackleaf Cliffs, additionally some Spire Bluff Canals, 2 Steam Vents, and then 2 Blood Crypts as well. So no sort of Surveillance whatsoever. Yeah.
I mean, I guess the deck does want to get out racing and get ahead, and it needs its early mana untapped, so can't really afford the time usually to have the tap land, but... You know, good old is coming back.
Yep, and now Parker's going to be in a situation where does Alwyn have a way to interact with this frog? Because if he does, how many cards does Parker want to lose from his hand in order to keep the frog alive?
You see, if you have Static Prism, you don't care.
That's true. Static Prison just cleanly answers the frog. There's no damage that needs to be dealt, and there are 2 in the main deck here from Alwyn. And 4 Galvanic Discharge, so let's see if any of those are the play, but instead it might just wind up being Mobilization. Tokens getting in the red zone here. We got potentially 1, 2, 3, 4 damage coming on in. I don't think we actually have red warriors.
You got mobilized tokens?
Yeah, I don't believe we have those ready just yet, but you know, I'm sure we can figure something out. I'm sure Alwyn has them available.
All right, we have the backside of the tokens, which are red.
Yes, that's quite nice, but this is some pretty furry warriors.
Yeah, well, we had Bloomburrow before, right? So maybe they're just porting on over from Bloomburrow.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what they are? They're the Goblin Warriors, like the from Hordling Outburst. That's what they
Yeah,
are. Those
they're the
goblins on Tarkir are very furry.
Yes, this is accurate. Yeah, and it looks like Parker is okay with just like taking the damage and not pitching anything to the frog. Possibly also just like trying to make sure that we don't get any damage, on the frog to make us have to discard even more to say, this Flage that came down right on time.
Oh, Parker's deck looks not as good when you're not doing the discard, play a bunch of things early, and Alwyn's deck looks really good when you are doing the let's make a lot of tokens thing, as he just barely is missing City's Blessing now. 7 permanents on the battlefield when those warriors go away.
Well, there was 9 when the warriors were still in play, so we were dangerously close here.
All right, we are just gonna start pitching some cards here. And we are gonna tumble. All right, so we are getting, rough, not tumble. We are getting rid of everything except for the Voice of Victory. That does only put 1 card in the graveyard for Flage as well. And we're gonna start playing some of our spells here. So Faithless Looting comes out, and if we wind up having a Hollow One after this, that's a really solid follow-up from Parker's deck.
Yeah, because but I mean, Root Wall is also pretty solid here too. Just, put in a 1/1, no big deal. Use 1 mana to pump it and have it trade with the Voice of Victory on a future turn. Pretty solid. Just because we don't actually have any mana left over right now. But
Oh, we're going real low here from Parker's side. He says, a 3rd street raid?
3 in a row?
Oh, let's go gambling.
Swing 3 or 2? 2. Go to 19.
All right, so that will get another draw. He's really digging for hollow ones, but he finds frogs, street wraiths, and just the 1 root walla. So is that 2? I think 2 psychic frogs in hand here from Parker.
Yeah, those are probably untapped, if I'm being honest. And yeah, we are missing a handful of cards for the escaped Flage, which I think is probably what All wants to go for here, given just how low Parker has gone.
Oh yeah. If you play Arena of Glory, Escape Flage is just GG at this point.
Yeah.
You still have blockers, but it's effectively GG.
Well, no, you kill the blocker and then you hit face.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to be able to escape the Flage this turn, though. We still need 2 more cards in order to do so, and we are fetching here instead of playing an Arena of Glory, so haste is far away from us now.
Yeah. Oh, there's the fancy mountain.
That's how you can tell it's a mountain. It's because it has red on the card.
Yeah. Yeah. Usually the colors in Magic are pretty good at telling you what the card is, unless it's like those Innistrad lands that are just black.
Yeah, I guess so. Wait, did we... What fetch land did we use?
We used... Oh, yeah, I think we do have a... Yes. All right. Let's go. I'm gonna go quickly.
Double check what that land is over there, Frenchie, before we still can cast this Galvanic Discharge, but it's going to be off of our Sacred Foundry instead. Frenchie just going to be double checking here. Ooh, the Ragavan hit the battlefield already, though. That Ragavan may not be able to enter if that is the fetch land that we think it is.
I will definitely not be casting
We believe that you fetched a red source off of
Oh, yes. Oh.
Yeah, it looks like this is going to have to be a judge call here, as we fetched a mountain off of our flooded strand. So we're going to tune in real quick to see what Judge Brandon has to say about this.
Search for
Yes.
Vivis.
And you searched for a mountain then?
Yeah, I searched for
When did this happen?
All right, yeah, so we do have the judge call happening. I believe, just looking at Alwyn's deck, I'm pretty sure he has that. Yeah, he's got 3 Sacred Foundries, so he can very easily fix this and just go down to 16. But we are quite a few spells through.
We could cast like a Galvanic Discharge, and then the Ragavan was the other spell that we wound up dashing out, which is the big question mark here. Is all right, let's see what Judge Brandon has to say.
Cast Galvanic Blast.
Those were
Those were the 2 actions after the. Okay. And what phase are we in right now?
the Ragavan hit.
Ragavan hit? So Ragavan
Oh,
hit.
and we saw the top card of our opponent's library because of
Yeah.
the
I mean, we haven't seen any cards in our library, so we can kind of make the change to our own library.
Side note here, Parker's last 4 cards were Street Wraith, Street Wraith, Street Wraith, Street Wraith.
That does not seem very, very random.
I didn't realize
Or it's
that,
exceptionally random.
like the top 15 cards are apparently the Street Wraith Nightclub. Like I didn't
Yep.
know about that, you know.
So this is what we're gonna do. First things first.
But yeah, I'm no judge myself. Knowing that there are a lot of game actions that happen that may be hard to rewind everything, I am assuming that Alwyn is going to have to take an additional 2 damage off of a Sacred Foundry that he finds.
Well, not a shockland, but any.
Yeah.
Well, this was an illegal target, so this should not. So
Yeah, we're currently resolving it.
we're gonna.
Mostly looking about this being an illegal target issue.
Where the fetch land has been sacrificed, you are searching for a plains or an island
Containing card.
containing cards. So that's the main idea. We're gonna back up to that point.
And Alwyn, like you said, does have
So
probably a full play set of these
is we're gonna unreveal
these Steam, not Steam Vents, Sacred Foundries in deck.
Then what we're gonna do is this was so we're gonna
Okay, so we're just going to be doing a straight rewind here to where we're fetching, and then everything else will kind of do the thing afterwards. So it is a fix. We just need to go through the motions and make sure that we have the game state in a legal spot after we figure out the flooded strand situation.
Yeah. So what's going to wind up happening is basically things that the way that it wind up happening as on the battlefield. Just Alwyn is going to wind up being at 2 less life. I'm going to preemptively do that. This isn't exactly what has happened here, but that will then still wind up resulting in the battlefield that we currently see. So there's going to be 6 damage coming Parker's way.
Yeah.
Which means that Parker's going to be down to 1.
1 is not 0.
1 is not 0, which means that then Parker needs to be able to clear out Alwyn's board with a pair of Psychic Frogs, a Street Wraith, and an unknown card in hand. Oh, sorry, I think, yeah, unknown card in hand. Which I am not sure if Parker's deck is going to be able to do. Not saying that it couldn't. You could wind up having a lot of things hit the battlefield after Goblin Mooring or something like that, and then Alwyn needs to be able to flage to win the game.
Yeah.
so then yeah. I wish someone told me that.
Hello, welcome back to us, Rootwalla.
Yeah. We're back.
So that's what I'm
Again, just a rewind. And given that a judge is here, we just want to make sure that everything's all squared away. And we are fully rewinding to the game state before the illegal action happened. And then we're going to perform the legal action of finding Sacred Foundry and taking 2 life to make all of these following plays.
Have you guys received any of these 2 warnings in the tournament?
And, you know, as per usual, we unfortunately do have, what is it? We do have a warning coming out, which is understandable. You know, we are playing Comp REL. It is a little more casual than, say, an RC, but we do want to make sure we are playing by the rules and stuff like that.
Parker even says, I don't even know if any of this is going to matter anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, as you said, it's good to walk through these motions, make sure that the players understand what the rules are in these circumstances, and we have a judge on premises for things just like this, so.
Yeah, and Parker did mention it's one of his first, like, big competitive tournaments, so even though yeah, even though it probably won't matter given just what was presented before, after everything happened, it is good for him to kind of see that, you know, how this all gets rectified and all that stuff.
Yeah, we see the brain blast from Parker being like, oh my gosh, who expected that street rate to be on top of my library?
Will suck my guys. Dice for coming back.
Parker should be down to, I believe, 1 here?
I believe it's 2.
Yeah, because Voice of Victory is a 1-3. That's what it is. All right, so Parker down to 2, all in at 16. We're missing 1 card in the graveyard to escape our Flage. And this Voice of Victory in and of itself is lethal. And there's a Dash Ragavan, so we need to present at least 3 blockers. First one is Psychic Frog.
I mean, for what it's worth, Fetch Land is GG.
Fetch Land also GG, yeah. All right, we discard the Blazing Root Walla. That puts a counter on our Psychic Frog and also creates a blocker. So at this point in time, we are currently not dead.
All right, let's see. Fetch Land off the top. Fetch Land off the top.
We have a couple of cards in hand. One of them is going to be a Ragavan.
Oh, Surveil Land, just throw in the bin.
Yeah, there we go. Owen knows. That's going to escape the Flage. That's going to dome Parker for 3. Parker double-checking the side. He has enough. Handshake is there, and that's going to be Owen taking the game, taking the match, and getting himself to 3-1 in this 5-round event, and probably setting himself up for a spot in the top 8.
Probably, I think definitely. That's unless we do have an unfortunate pair down somewhere, that should be it for him. And yeah, he's gonna be able to get to the top of the standings to make that top 8.
Yeah.